All right, welcome everyone to the Knock and Talk show. I am your host, Patrick Faulkner. This is episode number 2, and today we have Matthew Warren with us. Matthew started his career in law enforcement back in 1996, and then in 2010 went into the private sector and started a career in private investigations and bounty hunting. So, Matthew, welcome to the show, bud.
Thanks, bud. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has, but we've been friends for a long time, and
Probably, I don't remember exactly when it was that you graduated the academy and went to the street, but we had some good times back in the day. It was definitely some fun when you were over in Central Precinct and I was serving warrants or working family violence. We definitely had some fun out there on the road.
Yes, we did. Yeah, so that goes all the way back to 2000.
Yeah.
When the first time that we met. I'm very thankful to have you here on the show. I'm excited about it. So why don't you tell us what led you to get into law enforcement, and then why you picked the SO over the PD? Because the county we worked in had both county sheriff's department and county police department. So what led you to SO versus PD, and then we'll get into the private sector stuff.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for having me. You and I have been, like I said, friends since 2000. And one of the guys that I knew when the crap hit the fan, if I heard your radio number come over, I knew you were coming. You knew likewise with me, too. That was one of the good things that I was able to build the trust and camaraderie with the PD. Because at that time, you know, PD and SO didn't get along. Like you said, we had two different agencies, two different philosophies, and just uppers didn't get along. But the guys in the field, man, we had a blast. So I went to West Georgia and graduated from West Georgia in 95. And before then, I had applied to Gwinnett PD and I think Gwinnett Fire and I think Gwinnett SO. And I actually wound up pulling my app because I found figured that I needed a degree. And so I went on and finished out at West Georgia and got my degree in criminal justice. And I started applying everywhere. I mean, I applied to Atlanta, DeKalb, Fulton, Douglas County, anywhere and everywhere. And I said to myself, whoever the first agency is that calls me, I'm taking the job. It just so happened, and I was running side by side. Everything was exactly the same with Gwinnett PD and Gwinnett SO. I mean, I'd have an interview one day, next day I'd have another interview. Then I had a polygraph. Then I had the drug test. Then I had the PT.
Right.
And I just said, whoever calls me first, I'm taking that job. It wasn't anything different about the PD over the SO other than back in the 90s, I mean, law enforcement is definitely different now than it was 20 years ago. Everybody knows that. Any guys that you have on the show knows that. You know that. Law enforcement is not the same. Society is not the same as 20 years ago. And I think I just felt that maybe I wasn't ready yet for the road because I didn't know. I mean, I was young. I was still in my 20s, but I had never had the experience because I grew up in a life where the family was in construction and other areas. And we do have law enforcement and military in our background. I didn't go military route. Respect the military. You know that through our social medias that we're friends, we're mutual friends on. But I respect the military, love the military, would do anything in the world for the military. And my wife and I have something working right now for some stuff with military and prior law enforcement that we're working, another venture that we're working on. And I just felt that, the SO, when it came down to it, the SO actually called that morning, I think like 8 or 9 o'clock, and did me a conditional job offer pending. I think at that time, the process was you got a conditional job offer. You had to do the psychological exam, right, and then you had to meet with the shrink. And I think you may have had the poly and the drug test, which I passed everything. SO called, and then like an hour later, PD called, and I was like, I'm sorry, I already offered a job at the SO. And it was kind of, at that time, it was kind of like, really, is that where you want to go? And I was like, well, whoever called first, I was going. And I went to the SO. I did my stint in the jail. And, that was the thing. Well, you're going to be in the jail for years and years. I said, well, if I am, I am. Whatever. So what? I worked the jail. was fortunate being, a rookie at the sheriff's department. I got stuck on day watch. Fine with me.
Wow.
I mean, I had day watch, and I think I had like Tuesday, Wednesday off days or whatever. I mean, and it was like, I didn't care. I was new, didn't care. And then I went to the academy. I graduated the academy, I think it's 98. And
because in Georgia, you can be a jailer for, is it up to a year before going to a post mandate?
In Georgia, you can be a deputy or detention officer at 18. But you cannot be a certified peace officer and have arrest powers until you're completed the academy at 21.
Got it.
So, but within a year, you have to go what's called jailer school. And then our department had advanced jailer school. What we did then is when you got hired today, you go Monday to the jailer school, which was in-house. So you went, did all that. Then you went on shift and you went under FTO program. I don't know how long it was. It could have been, a couple months. I don't know. Then they cut you loose and you work in a pod. So the way that Gwinnett did it was you have direct supervision. So you're then there with the inmates. And my thought, philosophy, and thinking at that point was the games they play in the jail are the same games they play on the road. They hustle, they manipulate. There's gangs. We know that. You got your cliques in the jail. You're going to take care of you or whatever. If you're, if you're MS-13 or Brownside Locos or whatever, they're all going to, we tried to cipher them out through venting through the classification unit, but you still got them. Came down to, I just felt like learning how they interact in the jail is the same way they're going to interact out in society. Okay. Went to the academy. I graduated the academy on a Friday. Saturday night, I went out and was running transport, or I think I was serving warrants. I don't know. But as soon as I graduated academy, I was volunteering my off days to go serve warrants. And that's what I was doing. I started going out riding with the warrant, the field ops, which we had, and I started riding with fugitive. And today just happens to be, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is I think the 23rd anniversary of Kenneth Wimberly being killed. Well, Kenny and I were both working the same pod together. We wound up on evening shift working in J-Pod, the maximum security, and we were on SWAT together. And we rode, our off days happened to be the same, and we rode with fugitive every chance we got because we knew that if we kept doing our off time, that we would get out on the road eventually, and that's what it was. And we were on SWAT. We were both SWAT members, and unfortunately, he was killed in the line of duty, and it was very devastating to me because me and him were partners, not only on shift, but in SWAT. But shortly after, I got called and was like, hey, do you want to go to family violence? And I was like, huh? I didn't know shit about family violence orders, didn't know anything about civil process. I didn't know anything. I was like, I'm a door knocker. I want in the thick of it. Well, you can wait 6 months to a year, or you can go to family violence right now. Went to family violence. Best decision I ever made. Loved it. Had a blast. Serving restraining orders, locking up domestic violence. And that's when I came in, I think then, I may have seen you in the jail, but I think that's really when we clicked out on the road. And because what we were doing is serving warrants on domestic violence, you're working calls. I jumped calls with y'all, back y'all up. There wasn't somebody there on traffic, close to you on traffic stop. And that's how I got the reputation of, hey, if it hits, you're going to hear his SO number coming over the radio because he's going to balls to the wall to get to you. Because that's what it was like. It didn't matter what went on upstairs in the admin, out in the trenches. We needed each other. It didn't matter what uniform you wore. And that's what I did. I went, family violence, did that for, I think, 8 years. Got certified as an instructor. So I was a post instructor, taught both the PD and the SO academies on domestic violence. And I built, that leads up to where I am now. Mm-hmm. I built a reputation with a lot of the attorneys that were in the district attorney's office or the solicitor's office at the time, and the judges, and a lot of defense attorneys during the time, because they were like, dude, he's jam up. He knows what he's doing. They couldn't beat me when I was on the state side. And as soon as I got out and went into private sector, they're like, hey, we couldn't beat him back then. Let's bring him over here and see if he can help us win some cases. So I went to the dark side as in law enforcement. So I can't believe you went to the dark side.
That's right. You changed your green lightsaber in for a red one.
Yes, and in all honesty, without going into details of anything about that, probably the best decision that I ever made. Now that I look at it, I left after service. I was in warrants, and I went from family violence to warrants, and actually became a supervisor / corporal, which was many times was acting sergeant. And then I left. At that time, when I left, I actually wound up going and working for a bonding company, writing bonds. Sucks. It's plain and simple. Sucks.
Okay.
Working like 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning, weekends, you weren't seeing anybody. If you're in a relationship, you're screwed. It was literally worse than working the road. At least when you worked the road, you could get an hour break and go have lunch or dinner with your family, or sneak away and go watch your kid at a ball game or a play or whatever they had going. It sucked. I mean, it was horrible. Long nights of sitting there in a room, in a building or wherever you're working. Sometimes the phone would never ring, and you're just like, oh my God, there's only so much I could look on the internet.
Did you find the end of the internet?
No, I don't think so. At some point, someone over at the SO, don't know who, called up the bonding company and said, hey, do you know who you got working for you? And they're like, no. Well, dude, you need to really consider moving this guy from writing bonds to serving warrants, because dude's good at what he does. Thank you. Whoever that is, don't know. Thanks. But that's why I started bounty hunting. And basically how that works is person gets bonded out. They fail to appear, or they fail to comply with their agreement or their bond, and we go lock them up. And that's what I started doing for years. And you and I ran back in together. I think you were over at one of the other city agencies on the adjoining county. I think we ran into each other a couple of times, and I was really successful in the bounty hunting. I mean, there's money to be made in bounty hunting. You get 10% of the bond. You got a $10,000 bond. You're getting $1,000 to go lock this guy up.
Wow.
You can make some money. I mean, I did good. I did very well. Had a TV show.
So jump into that there, Dog the Bounty Hunter.
No, God, yeah, and this is exactly what I said. Okay, there's a difference between my screen name was the Enforcer and Dog. One, I'm not a convicted felon. Two, I carry a real gun and I don't have security running around me. It was me and one other guy who I won't name, but he now works at the SO. And he's doing good. He's followed my tips that I've given him to help him, and he's got certified. He's out there volunteering, doing the same thing, and he's trying to find his clique over there now. But it was fun, dude. I had a TV crew or a production company following me around for, I guess it was about a year. Actually, we did a year of production, and then we flew out to LA, and it just so happens like a week after, I think at the time it was Court TV. Court TV canceled Dog the Bounty Hunter. And they were looking for a fresh new face, and they really liked that they had a product, because that's what they considered me, was a product that they could sell to viewers, because I was an ex-cop. I wasn't an ex-con. And they liked it because of the connections that I had. There was many times that I would call, the county in which you worked in, or the city you worked in, or even the SO that I worked in. Hey, I got a warrant. Y'all want to play? And basically that's how it was. Hey, you want to go play? Let's go have some fun. And the guys knew that if I called, it was probably going to turn into something. I was a shit magnet, and you know that. I mean,
well, yeah, I was one as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't say that. Damn, it's quiet on Friday night at 8 o'clock down at Norcross, because the shit's gonna hit. It's gonna stir up right then. I got into bounty hunting, got hurt, and I parted ways, being politically correct at this point, with the company that I was with. Because there was some disagreements on the way the show was going, and the likeness of the viewers was not in favor of some of the other members of the cast. It was time to go. And then I started working on my master's. I was hurt, couldn't work for about 8 months. Started working on my master's degree, got my master's degree in criminology / homeland security and terrorism. At the end of doing that, another bonding company called me and said, hey, I need some help. Well, what's wrong? I got a bunch of warrants I need served. Called me, met with this individual, this other bonding company on 4th of July weekend, and said, I need your help. I was like, all right. show me what you got. He had 75 warrants. This is July 4th. December 31st, I had him down to 0 warrants. I served 75 warrants between July and the end of the year.
Wow.
And was humping it. At the point, I think our second child was fixing to be born. And I said, this is it. I'm too old for this hunting people. I mean, you know how it is. But in the private sector, if you're bounty hunting, fugitive investigator, you're not making money unless you're locking people up.
Right.
And I was tired of it. So I asked him to move me to a operations manager, and I wound up running 4 of his locations for about 6 months. And then the owner of this company called me and said, hey, why don't you come over here and do some PI work? All right. Well, I went and met with him. What do you do? Mainly criminal defense. And so that's what I do now. Kind of fast forward to get where we're at. I do criminal defense. So what I do is the attorneys for a defendant, if they determine that they need a private investigator to examine the discovery in their case, I assist the defense. Every defendant, which many people don't know this, is every defendant's entitled to their own independent investigation based on their due process. If the court denies them that right to their own independent investigation, they could have their case overturned at an appellate court. So, as you know, no law enforcement officer, prosecutor, or judge wants a case to go to appeal and risk the chance of it being overturned and having to go back and possibly, or having a mistrial and having to go back and not redo it all. So judges most likely usually side on caution and grant the order of the defense attorney to have a private investigator. So basically what I do is I get the whole file, which I won't show names, but I'll show you I'll just show the backside of it. This right here is a homicide from 2018. This is the paper discovery. This is not the digital discovery, which when you worked over there, you save it all. I mean, I look at everything. I looked at ballistics. I looked at past criminal histories. I looked at all their cell phone, everything that the PD or the investigating agency did on when they invested that case. I review it. I check the I's and check the T's if they're crossed. I tear it apart. And I type up a report after it's done. I interview witnesses and type up a report and, communicate with the attorney and say, hey, this is rock solid. It's time for a plea. Or I see some problems. And then we go there. And that's what I do. I tear it apart, do that. Also do process serving for attorneys who, law enforcement or sheriff's department can't find people to serve. Do domestic surveillance on cheating spouses. And then asset recovery or loss, do stuff for insurance companies, stolen items or fraud inside, internal fraud. We come in and do some surveillance or act as a worker to see who's stealing stuff. It's kind of wide open. I mean, everything that kind of happens in law enforcement is on the private sector. I have no arrest powers. I have no ability to execute search warrants or apply for search warrants. I do carry. But that's it. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I get to wear shorts and t-shirt during the summer, and if it's raining, I don't have to go outside and work a wreck. I don't have to worry about
with the
the Lamborghini. Do what?
With those short shorts and Bahamas.
Hopefully one day my career will turn out like his, and I'll be the commissioner of NYPD. But I doubt that.
There you go.
No, but I mean, I love it, dude. It's good. It's really good. It's rewarding. You see the same stuff as I do. What I do now, I see the same stuff as I saw then. It's just I'm not having to be the one to go out and deal with all the shit. I mean, basically, I love it. I mean, it's fun. Just rewarding.
That's good because life is way too short not to enjoy what you're doing, and both of us have had our times in not enjoying certain things. So I did the private investigating thing for about a year in between PD jobs. I thought I could make it as a PI and not have to work shift work, and there was more shift work in being the PI than there was when it was just a scheduled You know,
sometimes it does. I mean, sometimes you do have to change your schedule. I mean, like I've been trying to serve a guy with some papers yesterday, and was at football until almost 8 o'clock. And I was like, all right, I got to go just serve this guy. And so I, got home a little bit before 9. Sometimes that does suck. But in the surveillance side, when you're doing domestics, I mean, you're pretty much kind of your schedule. It sucks because sometimes I'll be in the woods. I mean, literally, like the only way I can do surveillance is I got to go get in the woods and gilly up and get my cameras and all that and hide in the woods. And, it rain or cold or hot and humid. Those things suck. But the rest of it, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's like I said, all those attorneys that I had met before through when I was at the SO, that's been the benefit that I've had. And I think that's why I've become successful in what I'm doing now, is because I was able to bring in numerous attorneys that work a lot of high profile cases, and they trust me with the work that I do, trust me that I'll do the work. They don't have to hold my hand. They send me the stuff, or they say, hey, I got this and this, come pick it up. Okay. They give it to me and I work it. And that's why I've been successful. Yeah, I testify sometimes, and I'm just doing my job. I mean, that's just plain simple. I'm doing my job. I mean, some people ask, well, how could you do your job when, this guy's charged with murder, or, he's charged with, child molestation? Those are the same. And you know how that's are in law enforcement or anybody that's got kids. No one likes working child molestation charges or cases.
I was in SVU for a year and a half. I know.
Yeah. And that's still the hard part, because I do have young kids. But I just look at it as it's my job. That's it. It's my job. Look at the facts of what they're saying. Look at the allegations that they're saying and see where there's factual stuff. And just, do it. I mean, that's just plain simple. Just, do your job. I mean, I don't take anything personal. I don't get mad. You know how it used to be, you get ticked off when you work the road, you get a fatality or a homicide, and you start digging into it and you learn more and more about it, especially if kids were involved and people take it home and I don't take it home. That's it. I'm in my office at the house and it stays at the door. I mean, I
was pretty successful and lucky, I guess. During those times when I was in SVU, when I got home and I took the suit and tie off or took the uniform off and hung it in the closet, the job stayed in the closet till I put that uniform back on again. I was even though I had a young son at the time, thankfully I was able to separate that and not blend the emotions. And you get all the guys or the other officers that say, man, I couldn't do that. I'd want to come across the table on them. I'd want to bash their face in. And I'm not saying I didn't have those same thoughts or feelings, but as you said, it's a job. You have a job to do, and you have to play the role in that job to ensure that whatever or whoever that monster is doesn't get the opportunity to do it again.
Yes, you're right, and you're exactly right. And then going on that note, like you said, that we were able to separate and basically walk away from it. And there are those that aren't, those that can't, and those are the ones. And I'm not going into, I'm not going to go into specific, certain cases, but I mean, they can't separate and they can't let it go, and then that's when they get themselves in trouble. And that's where we're at now. That's why law enforcement has really changed, and society has opened up. There's bad apples in every group. I mean, we know that. And I mean, we don't have to go down that road. But you got to learn to separate it. If you don't, it's going to eat you up. And what's going to happen? You're going to get divorced. You're going to start drinking. Some refer to other type of medication or other means to cope. And that's, either prescription medication and abusing it, or they refer to illegals. And it's no different than any other business.
Right.
But I think that society holds the law enforcement community at a higher standard because they're law enforcement.
Well, that and it sells papers.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course. Oh, of course. And this is water, by the way. It's too early to have a margarita or some moonshine.
Right. Well, good segue to our first sponsor plug. Here is, let me get in front of the camera. It's backwards here. Raz Energy from Rep Sports. Go to repsports.com and use coupon code PATRAZ to get your 15%.
Nice.
Yeah.
They got any apparel also they're giving you?
Yes, they do.
I might have to get a large in a cool mix if they got them.
That's good. This is the Voodoo, zero sugar, electrolytes, and BCA aminos. No crash at 4 o'clock. So our first plug of the show. The Voodoo.
So how many plugs do we have to get in? So I'll make sure I bring one in later.
Just this is being recorded, so there's an entry plug, and then this in the middle, and then the scroller down at the bottom. Can you see the scroller?
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I see it. I wasn't paying attention. I was, looking at your green screen door. And to let your viewers know, So I had some little technical difficulties this morning with my 18-year-old, who 18. Graduated last year, but did 4 years of audio video at the high school he's going with. So I'm like, hey, I'll just call him and have him because he knows all this stuff. And that's why I'm wearing his headphones. And I'm like, I need you at my house at 10 o'clock. Okay, bring your headphones, your microphone, your camera, everything else. And he rolls in here like 11:15 or whatever, like right before we went live. I was like, hook it up. Pat's waiting on me. But it's like, are you kidding me, kid? So I had already had my Zoom set up. And I had my backdrop was me sitting at Sanford Stadium in the press box. Being that I'm a big Dog fan and you're a big Bama fan, I figured it'd be a good joke, the way to start the morning off.
It would have been good.
It would have been. I figured it was, but now I'm stuck with my, there you go, my Coca-Cola Ugga, but you can barely see. You can see Ugga in the background, and my blind's closed because the trees are growing into my window.
You were at the SO, the Gwinnett SO did do security at Sanford Stadium. Correct?
Yes, we did. And that I did some of that detail. I did a couple years of that.
What was
loved
the
it.
Funniest thing that happened to you there on campus, being a visitor, not from Athens, Clark County or the campus PD, but being a visitor. What's the funniest thing that happened while you were there?
It was, I don't remember the year. I had to pull it up, but it was I believe it was the senior year or the last year that David Pollock and David Green were both at Georgia, and they were warming up down in the end zone, and they were just kind of BSing. And I actually happened to be right there in that end zone, standing there, just watching. I mean, because basically I was on the field, so I got to stand around and watch the game. The only problem is when you're on the field, you don't get to see what's happening. You're too close. You can't see the thing. You can't see the plays developing. It's cool, but I was standing there talking BS with them, and they were like, "Man, you look familiar. How do I know you?" And they're like, "Gwinnett, why y'all up here?" I was like, "Well, we're deputized, and UGA in Athens, Clark County wanted us to come up here and help." And I think it may have been the first year that we were there or the second year. I don't remember which one it was. We're sitting there BSing. And about 5 minutes into it, and this is pregame, and Mark Rick walks over. It's like, "What the heck are y'all doing? Get warmed up. Quit talking to the cops, and it was funny. There's another one that didn't take place, and I won't mention this particular athlete's name, but while I was there, we got a restraining order that was against him. And this was early in Mark Rick's era. And I called him up and called the kid up and said, "You got two choices. You either meet me or I call coach." And he was like, "Where you want to meet?" And he knew that I wasn't playing and respected the guy as an athlete. I'm not giving away anything, but this guy went pro. Hell of an athlete, hell of a defensive player, defensive back. He went pro. I don't remember how long he stayed. I don't watch pro football. So once they leave, once they graduate and get drafted, I don't watch. But really a good guy made a mistake. And he met me. And I never told coach, but he did, I guess. I mean, it's on him.
How many of those post-game drunks did you have to deal with? I mean, before alcohol was allowed in the stadium, but everybody.
I don't even know if alcohol is still allowed in the stadium legally now. They don't sell it there because it's a college stadium. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't drink that much, so I don't know.
A law. I think both the NCAA and the SEC has passed a law allowing the alcohol.
I don't.
Game, but everybody pre-games.
Oh God, in the booth. I mean, I remember going to I remember going to games when I was in high school and even in college when I went to West Georgia. I came over to Georgia to watch games. I had friends that went to Georgia, and even post college. I mean, yeah, you'd sneak it in your boot or wherever, had the girls carried in or whoever. I mean, yeah, not really. I mean, a lot of times, here's the way I played it when I worked in law enforcement, and you were the same way. You get more with respect. If I come into your house serving a warrant, I'm going to respect your home until you disrespect me or disrespect the situation. Then the game on. Just traffic stops. Be honest with me. We'll work through it. You got some weed. Hey, we'll work through it. You got coke. We got a problem. You got felony. So sorry, can't help you there. But you got a little bit of weed. We can work with that. But I really never had no problems. I mean,
that's because you're like 7'5".
I ain't that tall. If I was, I would have played NBA with
7. There's a big difference between.
Yeah, it was funny when we get calls because I'm 6'3", and at that time I was anywhere between probably 225 and 250, and I'm like down to like 210, I think now. So I was a lot bigger back then. I never really had any problems at the games. I don't think I ever chunked anybody out. I mean, the first year there, I was down on the field, so you don't get interaction with fans. Mainly there, you're just making sure somebody doesn't get on the field that's not supposed to be on the field. But it was just, staying around and make sure nobody gets on the field. I think a couple years I worked up in the stands, but mainly it was just you had Athens, Clark County, or somebody else was near you, and if there was a drunk, they just escorted them out. I never had any issues.
What about
got to see some good?
What about it? Luby's.
Oh God, you're gonna go there? Whew. Luby's Sports Bar.
Luby's
Wild Wings
on Wednesdays.
Yeah, with Southside Steve.
Yeah.
I got more fights there than I did there. Wild Wings.
One of my first calls with you.
I don't even remember the call, but it was, who knows? I mean, it was all we used to fight a lot over there. I mean,
and for y'all that don't know, Luby's Sports Bar was at the time a new sports bar in a side of the county that didn't have anything like that over there.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of people that went there to drink. And on Wednesdays was ladies' night, but they also had wet T-shirt contests, and that's where they did Luby's Boobies
and bikini contest for years.
Yeah, and
they had a bikini contest every year, and they do them in the spring and then maybe in the summer or early fall before it got cold. I don't think we really had any in the wintertime, but they always had some live bands there all the time. And, it really, it was fun. But
yeah, the sheriff's department had the security gig there, off-duty security gig. Mm-hmm. And when they end up locking somebody up, the PD would come over as a transport sometimes if we weren't under the water with calls on our own. But so yeah, that was one of the first calls I went on with Matt, was an all-out brawl there at Luby's Boobies, and the dude that decided to square up with Matt decided he would not do that again when it was all said and done.
Yeah, there was some. The best story I have from there, literally, well, two. One's good story, one's not so good. But the first one, it was one of those nights. I don't remember. It might have been a bikini contest or something. But Went up going into the bathroom, had to go to the bathroom and walk in, and there's a guy doing a line of Coke off the urinal. And I walked right beside him and I did my business. And as he's, coked out of his mind, he looks over and goes, "Oh shit." I said, "Yep. Oh shit's right. Finish your business, not the line, wash your hands, and let's go." And I locked him up for snorting a line of Coke off the back of a urinal at the Luby's Boobies. That made its round. That made its way around the departments as being probably one of the most memorable, humorous moments that, how stupid could you be? It's one of those things where you hear is only in Florida. Well, no, it was here in Georgia. The other one was not so good. Somebody ran into the bar and was screaming, "Hey, there's a guy beating up a girl out in the parking lot." And we ran across the street and he's beating on her and grabbed him, locked him up and, hooked him up and leaned him against my push bumper. And I'm interviewing the female and taking photographs. And there was something else broke out in the bar at the same time. So my partner that was working the bar with me ran back inside to go deal with it. And I turned around and he was gone. Oh. Handcuffs and all. Yeah, that one was the one that stuck with me for a while.
Yeah, I bet.
Until like 7 o'clock next morning, Dad calls me, or radio calls me and says, "Hey, we got the dad of the guy who ran from you last night on the phone, and he wants to talk to you." And called me, and I said, "Tell me he needs to turn himself in." Dad brought him in, turned himself in. He's like, "Well, can you take a shower?"
Same cuffs.
Yes, actually, he was. They even went to the local gun range in downtown Lawrenceville. If you're familiar with it, that I won't give them a plug because you're not getting sponsorship. But went and tried to get a handcuff, and they were like, "I don't think so." But no, I let him shower and turn himself in, and I charged him with theft by taking because he stole my handcuffs.
Nice, just a little bit extra.
Yeah, I got him with instruction, battery, everything else, and theft by taking. But no, that was a fun time there, and then went over to Wild Wing, and Wild Wing was just as wild as. Yeah, it's still there. Luby's is gone now. It's a hookah bar or something now.
It has probably been 10 or 12 years since I've been over on that side of town.
I was there within the past 2 years. I actually had a case out of there, an ag assault case that I was working, and it was a hookah bar now. Yeah, wow. It's not the same. I mean, there was good times. I knew the owner. The owner passed away. I couldn't remember, maybe 10 years ago, but he passed away. But it was a fun place. It was definitely a cool place even to hang out at times. But it's changed. We used to have Wild Bill's. It's not Wild Bill's anymore.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they closed.
I don't think the name's the same. I don't even know if it's still. I don't know if it's the same place or not. But that used to be a good place. Used to always have stuff. Well, I think we got more stuff on part-time jobs than we did when we were on shift.
Yeah, I worked that job, security job, every other weekend when I had my weekend off, whether it was Friday night or Saturday night, and I always ended up in a scuffle because, like I said, I'm not a big guy. I mean, with my boots on, I'm 5'7", maybe 5'7.5" if I stand tall. So it wasn't that uncommon for someone to try to take the small cop on the way out the door when the lights come on, everybody's drunk, they don't want to go home.
Oh yeah, Well, and you guys probably saw a bunch of good concerts there too, because that was a country bar.
Yes, well, I did, like Brooks and Dunn was there a couple times.
I've seen them there. I've seen Brooks and Dunn. I saw Montgomery Gentry there. Yeah. Blake Shelton was there one year when it's early on. I'd seen him there with before he really busted at the seams and came really big. But I've seen Brooks and Dunn there and Blake and Montgomery Gentry there several times.
One time.
They had good shows there.
They did. Montgomery Gentry was pretty loaded. Trashed even.
Oh yeah.
And the concert was not that great. And it ended early. Because they started singing in cursive.
Okay.
It was interesting.
I've got a friend who's close with them. And I had, front row standing room. I mean, got there early, but literally I got pictures of, the guys handing me pics or, pointing at me and thumbs up and gave them some shots and stuff like that. They got the one I was there, they got pretty riled up. They didn't sing in cursive, but they're good. They're good. We don't know what's going to happen to them now since one of the guys passed a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm not a huge country fan. I can listen to it. I wouldn't be able to tell you if it's not Bocephus.
Yeah, good old Bocephus.
Or Willie.
Yeah.
There's a good chance I don't know the artist, but I might know, some of the lyrics. I'm just not a big.
I listen to a lot. Now that you got Sirius Radio and it's been out for so long, I listen more of, comedy shows when I'm driving around if the kids aren't in there. And more of, honestly, showing my age is 80 Rock. My younger kids love the 80s. Huh?
Big Hair Rock.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we listen to a lot of 80s rock and they jam out to it and, and whatever. I mean, I listen to talk show radios, news radio.
Speaking of concerts and backstage and photos, who would you say is the most famous person that you've met and spent time with?
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess you're having to dig deep in those.
Well, I wouldn't say spent time. I've met I actually met Bill Clinton when he was president at the Varsity in Atlanta. Shook hands. I'm not going political, but I'm not a Bill Clinton fan, but he was president of the United States at the time. Right. Probably, I'd have to say that probably, and this is going to really show whether or not you know who I'm talking about, Norm Van Brocklin.
So Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Norm Van Brocklin.
I don't know that name.
Norm Van Brocklin, NFL coach. He used to come and go hunting at our farm in South Georgia we used to have with my grandfather.
Okay.
Used to come down a lot. I've met old Steve Barkowski.
That name sounds familiar, but I don't
Former
know.
Falcons football player.
Okay.
David Pollock. He lives over in Watkinsville now. He coaches the youth North Oconee Titans. I've talked to him a couple times because he coached my nephew.
He's got a spot on ESPN now.
Yes. Game day.
Mm-hmm. Game day. Okay.
Mark Rick a couple times, being a Georgia fan. Kirby Smart. My son went to his camp. My oldest son went to his football camp 3 or 4 years in a row when he was playing high school football. He'd go to his summer camp up there at UGA and get, extra coaching and stuff with, players and coaches or players from Georgia and coaches from across the country. Let's see. Dang. I mean,
that's a pretty good list.
No actors, I don't think. I don't think I've met any actors or actresses in the, TV or movie industry. I can't say the name. But back in late 90s, early 2000s, actually it was at Luby's. Early 2000s when the Braves were hot.
Luby's.
Yeah, go back to Luby's. And this was we used to get at the time. Sorry, I keep fixing my shirt, but it's kind of like bugging me. We used to get, because it was a hot spot, like you said. It was a new sports bar that was in Gwinnett County, and we weren't used to anything in that area. We'd have athletes that would come in, and one particular night, 2 athletes from the Braves came in. Starters, well known. And one of them was tore up from the floor up, and he was not leaving. It was closing time. And my partner at the time said, it's time to go. And we closed at like 2:00, and this was like 2:30. And he was like, he wasn't leaving. And the words came down to, well, do you know who I am? And yeah, we said, yeah, we know who you are. He said, I can buy this damn place. I said, well, when you buy this place and you're paying my check, then you can stay as long as you want. I don't care. But right now, you ain't my boss. And my partner said, you got a choice. You can walk out that door right now, or we'll both be on ESPN in the morning. And he walked out. And I don't think he ever came back. Yeah, he was well-known, and he was a hothead, and he was known around the Atlanta club scene as being one. You know who I am. He was very, very entitled.
Was that before or after the L Train comments?
The L Train.
Yeah, maybe a different John Rocker that I'm thinking.
Oh no, Rocker did. I'll say it. Rocker used to come up there because he was friends with Steve Rickman or Southside Steve at the time with 96 Rock. Yeah, Rickman used to come up there all the time and became friends. Well, and actually, he is a celebrity. I mean, that's probably the most one. Yeah, he's good. He's got a new show now going. I'm not sure if it's 97.1 or what station. He's on in the mornings now. But no, I think that would actually. I'm glad you said that because you actually brought that back up, or maybe probably him because he's a local celebrity. He's a real good guy. I've known Steve since when Luby's first started because he was the one that hosted Luby's Boobies, and we follow through with each other still on social media. Ooh, sorry, I was shaking my camera. He's a good guy. He brought in a lot of B-list celebrities. I think used to come in there for hosting or being judges during the Luby's Boobies. You remember the guy Webster? The little black kid had a 80s. Yeah, he was one of the hosts. He was one of the hosts one time. There were some other ones that came in there. I couldn't remember it. Dude. That's a long time ago. I got a lot of shit that's happened since then. I got some head injuries since then.
So the most, I guess, famous person that I've had a conversation with. I've met Steve, Southside Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I met him at. He was doing something at Hooters one time at that place, and we had a conversation. And the next day on the morning show, he actually mentioned me. So I got like 2 seconds of fame there. Yeah. But I'd never met or was introduced or talked to like an A-lister. The biggest name I could give you is Margaret Cho, the actress. I was an extra on a movie, and she was one of the stars in the movie. And I actually had a small conversation with her on the side. Nice lady. But here's a name you are going to recognize, a local celebrity and amongst our groups, Richard Long.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Big Rich.
Yeah, he's probably going to kill me for mentioning him.
That's how. I mean, shoot, he was your sergeant over at Central, I guess, wasn't he? Yeah, Rich, good Rich. We should have put. We all three of us need to be on the show together one time.
Yeah. So
Rich is rich,
right? Yeah, I mean, we could go days talking about Rich.
Definitely have enough material with Rich, and probably some stories that you and I probably would like to bury. Actually, I'll give you one. I'll give you a Rich story.
Oh, Rich, I'm sorry.
No, this isn't bad. This is actually on shift. It's clean, but this is funny, and you may have been there because it was a Sunday. And we had just gotten tasers, and we were the first, I believe we were the first agency in the county to have the tasers. What was this, 90s? Or no, early 2000s? Yeah. And I remember that, I think it was a Sunday, and oh God, I don't remember the apartment complex, but right over there off of Boggs Road across from Idlewild, real shithole.
Breckenridge Crest.
Okay. Is that the one where you come in and it's kind of, you got to drive back around? There's apartments all over the place.
That was one of its names.
Okay.
Back in the day when we were running it. It was Breckenridge Crest.
Okay. So
70 Boggs Road.
Yeah. That's it. So I remember that something had started. There was a big fight or whatever. And I was up in Beaufort, I think, in a different zone. And I heard the call. And then Rich calls me and says, "Hey, where are you at?" And I was like, "I'm in Beaufort." He goes, "Can you come down here?" And I was like, "Yeah, what do you got?" And he's like, "We're about to have a riot." Okay. But I was kind of like, and I was the only SO unit. Now, mind you this, we had like back in the time, 650,000 registered voters in the county.
Mm-hmm.
And, y'all would be on shift and y'all may have 10 to 15?
Four
on District 5?
Yeah. Sometimes it was four worker bees and a sergeant. So
okay. So and I was the only SO unit on the road. There was no other SO unit. Or there was one other one.
Weekends, yeah.
Yeah, on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays, we served restraining orders. If we wouldn't have any restraining orders, we'd serve some warrants. If we didn't have warrants, we'd jump calls with you guys or we'd work traffic. But Rich asked me to come down. Okay, so I started boogieing it down there and got there. And I was like, you got your taser? And I was like, yeah, why? There's like a crowd of 200 people pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who don't know, we had two different agencies. Y'all wore blues, we wore browns.
Mm-hmm.
I show up and I'm in my brown uniform. And
That's
some big
7'5".
Yeah, okay, 7'5". You want to put me at 390 pounds too? And
No. A very, very slim 250.
Okay. So I show up and I remember hearing this lady scream, "That's the sergeant right there. He's got a different uniform on. He knows what's going on." And I'm like going, what the hell did you just get me into? We didn't lock anybody up, but it was like, okay, I guess I'll go over here and play mediator to get this thing chilled out. But yeah, this lady thought I was the sergeant. I commend Rich Long for bringing me into that one. But yeah, we used to have some fun over there.
That apartment complex required 2 officers. You couldn't go in there by
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's so many now that require more than that. I mean, there's like, shoot, I wouldn't do this job now to save my life. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my phone. I've got text messages going off like crazy. I got a group that's today, as I mentioned earlier, today's the 23rd anniversary of Kenny getting killed. And I'm getting text messages. Some guys took the flowers down to the gravesite down in Columbus and then took a set over to the lobby of the SO. So they're texting me pictures and stuff. So, all right, what's next, Bubba? Let's roll.
All right. So, how far have you gone to pick up a bond jumper, like distance wise? How far have you had to travel?
Mackinac Island, Michigan, on the border of Canada.
Wow.
Yes.
Was it wintertime?
No, it was actually very beautiful, and I highly recommend it to your viewers to travel there. It's very nice. Go in the summertime. It's very nice.
What was the name of the city?
Mackinac Island.
Mackinac Island.
Yeah.
In Michigan. All right, there's your free plug, Mackinac Island. Free plug. Visit or MichiganPure.org or whatever their tourism is in Mackinac Island.
It's very nice. It's ferry. No cars are allowed. It's a ferry. You have to take a ferry over. And actually, that's the furthest I went. My wife went with me. We were dating at the time. I was like, hey, I need somebody to help drive because it's not a short drive. I think it was like a 12, 14-hour drive. I don't remember. We stopped somewhere in Ohio, stayed the night, got up there early morning, got a hotel, slept for a couple hours, and then went over to the island. And actually, lucky, let's talk about luck. We know how luck works in, catching folks. Ran into a retired sergeant from Detroit PD. He was the guy's boss. He's like, yeah, he's here. He's, matter of fact, this is his last day. I was like, what? Oh, he packed his bags. He was flying. He was fleeing. He knew that I was coming. Pulled him in there, cuffed him up. Said, all right, you're going back to Georgia. Well, I got the money. I can pay my bond. What? Dude forked out. I think I had about 20 grand on him. Paid out the bond. Paid the bond off. The bond was, I think, like $15,000, but plus my fees. So he wound up giving me about $25,000 cash right then for me to leave. Okay. Wow. Hey, the warrant ain't going away, but you paid the bond. So I got $25,000 cash from him right there on hand. Spent the rest of the day and toured the island and drove back to Georgia. Nice. I think that's the furthest, unless you actually got into calculated miles. I've been out to Oklahoma City to pick a murder suspect up out of Barrow County that we had on bond. He actually had a bond and picked him up, and actually he turned himself in. I called him and said, "You got a choice. You can run and hide, or turn yourself in. You run and hide, I'll get the marshals involved, and you're going to take a month to get back on a bus." And he turned himself in. I don't know mileage wise, but that's the Michigan one was I think the furthest one I've been to.
Okay. But speaking of rolling out to pick up a murder suspect, do you remember the Clint Eastwood movie, The Gauntlet?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So what do you think about the two scenes, the most memorable scenes in those movies? The house where Shockley's got gosh, I can't remember what her character name was, but the prostitute in the house, and the locals show up and shred it like Swiss cheese. You remember that?
Yeah, and I also remember an incident that happened in this county where somebody did that.
I'm sorry, I might have to edit that out.
You're probably gonna have to edit that one. I think there was a payday on that one. Yeah, that's you can't do that. That's Hollywood for you,
right?
You can't do that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is what are your thoughts on? Now, granted, standing on the outside, there was a shot that those officers heard on the inside, right? But you still have to ID the target, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I've been there. Actually, been there multiple times, and actually, they just happened to be in your zone that you worked. We had one guy barricaded. Was active military. It was domestic violence call. It was on a Sunday, and got there, and the lady comes out screaming, heads busted all up, and me and a couple other guys cleared the house, and we're actually into the last room, and there was only one where it could be, was in the bathroom. And we had the door covered off, and boom, single shot, but we didn't return fire, and he wound up committing suicide, and we had to call y'all's SWAT team in because it was actually y'all's call. But yeah, I've been several. You just can't fire into a house. Hollywood is dramatic. We've seen it. The guy coming to the house carrying his gun like this. Yeah, come on, we know that ain't right. Or clearing it, breaking the threshold with their gun stuck out. Okay, everybody knows you're going to hit that. I think you're getting
trigger, right.
Yeah, hand on the trigger. Oh yeah, or they fire 150 rounds whenever reloading. I mean, I wish I had that Glock. But a guy shoots 5 guys in one day and is not on administrative leave. But it's all Hollywood. I mean, right. Probably about the realistic shows that I've got to, and that was part of your questionnaires that I really liked. I love The Wire. The Wire was a good one. TV show.
I tried watching that. It's out of Baltimore.
Yes, right? Baltimore PD.
Yeah, I lived in Baltimore in the 90s when I was in high school. But I tried watching that. It was just way too slow for me.
Oh no, it gets better. Oh, dude, it gets much better.
2 episodes. You
got to get into it
by the second episode, and then. Granted, it was Hollywood, but some of the things they were doing, I was like, nope, that's not how that works.
Well, and it is Hollywood.
And I get that, but I just couldn't get in. I couldn't get into that show. My brother,
I loved it,
who is not PD or law enforcement at all, loves it, and he actually rags me because I won't give it a second try. So
I think you should give it. I support that person. I think you should give it a second try. Another good one, The Shield.
Yeah, that was good.
LAPD, or supposedly LAPD, I guess. Awesome. Yeah, you definitely couldn't do the things that they do in that show. There's no way you could do those things nowadays. I mean, you'd be first incident, you're under the bus, dude. But that's a good one. That I love that show. I could watch it again. Justified is probably one of my best shows.
I enjoyed Justified. I think I've watched 2 seasons of that.
I've watched that whole series. Justified, one of my boys is named after Raylan. But love that show.
Okay.
Very, very good. U.S. Marshals. He's out there doing it, hunting. Another good one is Southland, another LA show. Yeah. Southland was a good one. They cut it short.
They did.
Deputy was the most recent one that came out that got cut last year. It was LA County Sheriff's Department. And funny, the way this was that the sheriff that was seated at the time died. And there was an old law written back in, I guess, the 1800s that said the longest acting deputy in the mounted patrol unit became the interim sheriff. So this guy was a slick sleeve sheriff's deputy working, and he was like old school, really, really old school guy, and was like on the edge of retirement, and he becomes the sheriff. Well, they cut it short. It only ran one season. Because of everything that was going on in the country with the excessive use of force. It's a shame that one got cut short because I really liked that one. But yeah, your Hollywood is Hollywood. I mean, Atlanta's big. Atlanta's had a lot of Hollywood coming out this way.
Yeah.
I wish I could get into some of that. I mean, there's some money to be made being extras or being advisors.
Oh,
I'd love to be.
Don't know. I was an extra in 2 films. It's like 12-hour days, and you are treated like the lowest part. So, like,
well, how much lower can you be, Pat? You're 5'2". I had to.
Everyone's got short jokes. Yeah. So, I think I paid $120 for the day. So it or $150, about $10-ish an hour. Now this was 2007. So that may have changed. The pay may have gone up, but we stood around as extras for about 12 hours, and it was a lot like basic training. If somebody of any rank, if you will, or any stature walked by, you had to make a hole and make it wide. Like, don't look, don't talk to, let whoever that is go by. When it came time to eat, we literally had to stand in a single file line against the wall, like elementary school.
Really?
Yeah, and wait for the cast to eat first, and then everybody else that has their name on the what they call them, the credits.
They all got to eat leftovers.
Yeah, you get everything that's been picked over, touched, slung to the other side of the plate.
Nice.
Yeah, it was not a great experience in my case. I played an extra cop. I know it was a very stretch for me in the movie One Missed Call.
You just brought up something though.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to be in the what was that? I'm pulling it up. What was it called? The show you said?
One Missed Call. The B-rated horror flick.
So you didn't get to star. We're going to bring back 2 names here, and you're going to be like, "Oh, we're going to ask him about this." So you weren't in the Rich Long and Steve Rickman movie? I was in it.
Were you really?
Yes, I was a SWAT team. I was in the SWAT team that was going to the woods. I just remembered that when you started saying that, I was like, wait, when you said One Missed Call, I was like, oh wait, yeah, Rickman and Long did a movie where they were detectives or something. Too. Did they really?
Rich was the chief of police.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to pull this up.
Oh, you're gonna have to dig deep.
Oh,
the media files.
I'm gonna do that.
The dark web to find it. Rich may have a copy. I don't know. But yeah,
what on 8-track or the big spool reels?
Yeah, the big reels.
Yeah, the ones where you got to go watch it and they click when they had to have the extra camera set up. So as soon as you hit the half at the very end, it clicked it. You could tell when the reel clicked to the next part of the movie, the other half.
Yeah, that's probably the way that's got to work. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to do some digging on this. This is good stuff. I will definitely come back on the show to have him on here to do that. That's funny.
All right,
that's funny stuff.
So in my notes,
oh God,
I every guest gets a questionnaire just so I can do like a little bit of research and do like a little bit of prep.
Oh God.
So I had asked. What was one of your favorite shows growing up, or who your heroes were? And you mentioned the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. And this is I've been pondering this question probably for way too long, especially as I got older and started questioning such things. But Daisy.
Yeah.
Okay, she was a waitress at the Boar's Nest.
Yes, the Boar's Nest.
The Boar's Nest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
She's the cousin of Bo and Luke.
she is the cousin of Bo and Luke.
And they live with Uncle Jesse.
They lived with Uncle Jesse. So, how did a waitress in Hazard County, Georgia, that has dirt roads, and the only paved roads are on the county square?
Right. It was filmed in Covington, Georgia.
How did this waitress own both a Jeep Renegade and a Ford Mustang Mach 1?
Hey, I guess that.
What kind of tips was she earning?
She never really. Daisy never really had a boyfriend, never married. But there was one episode where they had a moonshine still going on in the house, and it was in the bathroom behind a closed door.
If I remember that episode.
Well, Bo and Luke used to run some moonshine every once in a while.
Yeah, for Uncle Jesse.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's where they were getting the money.
I guess. I was sort of thinking that she took a liking to several of the drifters that would come through town.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if that's where she got the money.
Either that, or was it Enos that always had the crush on her?
No,
it wasn't Roscoe.
No, it was either Enos or Cletus.
Right, I can't remember which one. The other deputy.
Yeah, I think it was Enos. I think you're right.
Yeah, he would always, help Bo and Luke escape because he wanted to win points for Daisy.
That's right. So maybe he was on the take,
I guess,
and was funneling it to her. I don't know.
Maybe Lulu was the house mom.
Lulu. Oh, goodness.
Well, Boss Hogg had to have something to do with it because he had to have his money. So he was probably, he's okay. So if we want to go that route, then Boss Hogg was the pimp. Lulu was the house mom, and then Daisy was the
worker bee.
The worker. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the route we could go. And Enos was the bouncer or whatever. I mean, I never really. I think that you and I really need to consider, or I need to think about. You thought way too much about this. You got a good therapist. I mean, this is pretty in depth, dude. That took some really. What bourbon were you drinking when you came up with this?
Not that they're a sponsor. They could be. Okay. But it was Blanton's at the time. You can't find it anymore. It was either Blanton's or what was the other? Bullet
okay.
Rye
I'm not a big bourbon drinker. In your questionnaire, I mean, margaritas all day long and some good moonshine, and that's it. And I rarely drink. It's morning when we're on vacation. I think that had to do with 10 years of being on SWAT and on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. You rarely ever got a day off. You always had to be on call. And I never really drank that much. I mean, I couldn't tell you last time I had a beer. And not a big dark liquor bourbon person. I don't knock anybody for who likes it. I just never really got into it.
Well, speaking of drinking.
Oh God. Our sponsor.
Yes. Raz Energy Drinks. So go to repsports.com and get yourself some swag, shirts and workout towels and all kinds of stuff there. They've got to-go packs so that you can just dump the powder in your shaker and go from there. But repsports.com, use coupon code PatRaz for your 15%. It is good.
I apologize if you hear my shepherd. He's over here whining like crazy. And if you can hear him in the background, he's just whining because my oldest is sitting over here on the floor watching, and he's just upset because he's not getting loving or playing or something. Every once in a while, you'll see his tail wag across my shoulder over here.
Yeah, so I can hear it, but I've tuned out because my shepherd is probably the biggest whining baby ever. So to me, it's background noise. I'm used to it. So,
I don't see why he's pissed because he's locked out of the room. The gate's open. The baby gate's got him on the other side of it. He's mad because he can see in here and he can't come in here.
So, in that questionnaire, you also mentioned that you were a Chips fan.
Oh yeah.
So in the last episode, we actually had an
Yes.
LAPD officer on.
Yes, I saw that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, John and Ponch, man, the chips of the 80s. And this kind of both goes back to, the childhood thing, which was funny because I think it was on Friday nights when they would come on. Dukes of Hazzard. Well, no, it used to be Dukes of Hazzard would come on, and then Dallas would come on after it on Friday nights. Dallas. So I grew up in Southwest Georgia in a small rural town called Leesburg, Georgia, the home of Luke Bryan, just north of Albany. And we grew up on a pecan plantation. So what me and my brothers would do is we had go-karts. So we'd play out Dukes of Hazzard in our go-karts running across we had acres and acres and acres on end. So we'd be out there riding our go-karts, and we were Bo and Luke or Boss Hog or whoever else. We'd have fun. Chips was the same way, man. Chips was the show, man. I mean, you had that song.
Yeah.
Chips was. I did not know until I was watching your show for your first show that there was a movie of Chips. Never knew that there was a Chips movie.
That was awful.
The show turned to crap after John left, I guess, and Eric was on there, and then his cousin became, or somebody, or nephew became a Chip. I mean, how are you going to jump bikes like that? I never went to motors. We didn't have a motor unit. I mean, some of the stuff that was crazy 70s and 80s Hollywood crap there.
Yeah. So the movie they made into a comedy, and I just.
Is it bad?
Show, to me it was bad. It's stupid humor. It's millennial humor, and I just, it was very similar to the remake or the Dukes of Hazzard movie.
Yeah, that one. It was good. I watched it once. Didn't watch it. I may have watched it a couple times just with it on in the background. They're doing a lot of that. 21 Jump Street though, I like it.
Oh.
The new 21 Jump Street and 21 Jump Street and a half, I guess it is. Those are pretty good.
I didn't realize, is Johnny Depp in it?
No. Yes, actually he is. He's in the first, or I know you're talking about. He is in the first episode at the end.
Gosh, what was his name? I'm
looking at it. You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, because inquiring minds want to know. Wasn't Johnny Depp, or was it?
No, you don't. Hold on, I'm pulling it up, Bubba. Let me pull up the cast. No, it was Johnny Depp.
It was Johnny Depp. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and you had there were some good actors.
That's the name I was trying to remember. Richard Grieco.
Yeah. Yes, that was who. Yes, he was in it. Anthony Stark was in it. You had a lot of good. I mean, there were some good people in there. I liked it. I think it's hilarious. I mean, it cracks me up. I mean, I don't know if you do TikTok or not, but there's a lot of good spinoffs of it. It's damn, it's good. I like it. It's funny.
No, I haven't seen it. I may check it out.
The first one's better than the second one, but I like the second one also. I mean, it's still the first one. They go to high school and they're undercovers in the high school. Right. The second one they kick over to college. It's good. I don't know if they're doing a third one or not, but it's good. I can't remember. There's a bunch of old remakes coming out from 80s are coming back and rebound. I mean, you had Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Second Red Dawn that came out. It wasn't as good as the first one. Because you had Charlie Sheen and all those in there. I loved the first one. The second one was not as good, but it kind of changed the plot a little bit, but it was still, I mean, to me, it was more updated on the weaponry and
China.
Huh?
Wasn't the bad guy China and not Russia?
I think so.
No.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, it was good.
Or North Korea, one of the two. Well, going back to Chips, were you more of a Ponch fan or more of a John Baker fan?
I've never really thought about it. John seemed to be more of the straight by the book, and Ponch was more like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I never really thought about it. I would say of course you asked me that question. I don't know. I'm kind of a mix.
I like John's pickup truck. And the fact
Oh
that they
yeah,
wore the deerskin gloves and not the black
yeah,
leather
yeah,
gloves.
yeah, yeah.
So the first police gloves that I bought were the brown deerskin.
No
Uh,
shit. Are you
yeah,
serious?
I never wore them.
Would you go Tractor Supply and get them?
No, they were on Gauls magazine.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, they were in Gauls magazine. So I
Um,
got them, and in the academy, I can't remember who it was that saw them in my bag, and they said, "Do not pull those out. I'm not telling anybody you have them, so don't show anybody that you have them." So they stayed in my bag.
I don't really. I never really thought about it. And even now, kind of put me on the spot. I just like both the characters. I don't know if I really um, could, identify with either one more so. Um, I mean, it was in the 80s, 70s
Yeah,
and 80s, I guess.
yeah, I think it was. I think it started in the 70s or late, maybe right at the
Now,
turn.
see, now this is why we have split screens now, so I
It
can
is.
pull it up.
Yeah.
If
Why
I
do you?
had a assistant or a producer or somebody over here, they could be, pulling up and then started in 1977 and ran for 6 seasons.
Okay, so both 70s and
Mm-hmm.
80s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they solve crime. So come on, you and I both. I mean, they may have back then, but maybe that's the best thing to come out of California. I don't know. I'm not a fan of California.
Uh, uh,
Yeah, moving on.
Moving on here.
We won't go political.
Yeah. So being in the jail
Mm-hmm.
and running skip trace, bringing folks back. What is the grossest thing, nastiest thing you've ever encountered when locking somebody up or transporting somebody?
Oh, we'll see. You got two different errors there.
Yeah. So I mean,
areas
feel
there.
free to
Oh, jail definitely. Oh, they both probably have to do the same. I mean, definitely in the jail is having a 24, in which some people don't understand, mental person, in a housing unit experiencing feces all over the walls, all over them. So that's definitely. I mean, when you hear stories, oh yeah, it happens. I mean, disgusting. That's probably, and same thing, or somebody taking a crap on themselves in the back of a patrol car. And then, rolling in, I need an inmate, clean this crap up, and literally crap. That's probably that's got to be the worst for anybody. Any cop, it's got to be the feces.
That's gross. And thankfully the SO had runarounds that would hose it out for you. What sucked about that though is our Chevy Luminas. Yes, that was my first patrol car, a Chevy Lumina. Had just regular seats. I mean, they were like pleather seats, but we didn't have like a drain plug.
No, you didn't. So you had to shop back it out, or it had to swoosh around in the back seat.
So the worst thing that happened to me is I locked up a drunk, and on the way to the jail, he's like, "Man, I don't feel so good," and I said, "Do not puke in my back seat."
That is the worst.
And he said, "Okay." I'm a sympathetic puker. Like I can handle other people's blood. I can handle the odor of feces or urine, that kind of garbage. That smell that you get when you walk by a garbage can at an amusement park. So that I can handle all that. Vomit. I'm a sympathetic. So
I'm the same way.
So there was one spew, and I rolled the windows down, and then he spewed again, and then it went
on the
screen behind my head. I had to roll my window down and try to get fresh air, and ended up having to pull over so that I could join in the bar for ramen. It was awful. Most disgusting thing, because there was puke in the back seat. There was puke down the side because I didn't get stopped in time, so it went out the window the first heave. It was gross.
I was fortunate I never had that one. Yeah, I'm a sympathetic puker also. You know, and it's funny, this discussion is taking place because like when the kids pukes, I'm like, my wife knows I'm not touching it. I can handle dirty diapers. I'll be like, ooh, boy, that stink, but I'm okay with that. Puke. I mean, I can go in, go to serve an eviction or whatever, and there'd be a dead body that's been in there for a couple days, and that's rank. I may get a little like, ooh, let me step out and catch my breath, but then I can get used to it. You know, same with dead animals, you know, been in there, nothing, or trashed and, go do some of these nasty evictions that we used to do and hoarders and just nasty stuff. Those I'm fine. Puke, same way. Same way, buddy. I cannot stand it. But no, I think feces in the jail and maybe probably in a patrol car or something like that. I never had anybody puke. I didn't really lock up a lot of drunks because we didn't have a lot of drunks that we dealt with. And most of the time, if we had a DUI, we called DUI task force or a zone unit that was more trained in that because we were even though we were full service we were certified in law enforcement like everybody else. Y'all's academy was longer than ours. Ours was only 10 weeks. I think y'all were like 18 or 20 weeks. So y'all got more advanced training than we did. And we had other units that specialized in things like that. Y'all had the DUI task force, but so we never, we did basic field sobriety, but that wasn't our job. So we didn't handle a lot of those. I mean, we worked wrecks. I had no problem working a wreck. A lot of times I'd work where y'all were slammed if we had a snow day or something like that. I had no problem working wrecks if it was raining or whatever, because I would handle a wreck. That's easy. But anything that came serious fatalities with bodily injury or death, that always was handled by AIU. And I never handled DUIs. I mean, it just wasn't. Why waste the time of risking the chance of it getting thrown out because I wasn't trained to do it. We just didn't do it.
Yeah.
But no, I never really had to handle that many. I didn't have really any puking. Well, now hold on. Another Luby story for you.
We're back.
Luby seems to be. We could do a whole episode of Luby stories. Really probably get Rich and Steve in here. We could probably do a whole episode. I actually had a guy in the parking lot taking a piss and walked up to him and said, "Hey, dude, come on, knock it off." Spun around and peed on me. And it did make me sick, but it was one of those. Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? You just pissed on me. The other one that would get me, OC. OC. Getting secondhand contamination from OC. Yeah. Oh, brutal, dude. Yeah,
because the OC we carried was the fog. It wasn't direct spray. And everybody in downwind was going to get it as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when I became a patrol sergeant, the department I worked at, we had two forms of non-lethal. We had aspartame and we had OC. Oh no, we did not have OC. They wanted to get OC.
Why didn't it have OC?
No, we did have OC. That's right. So we didn't
have OC.
Yeah, we had aspartame. We had OC spray.
You don't have tasers?
And we did not have tasers. The department didn't want at the time. They didn't want the liability. They sent us through taser school, so those that weren't certified in taser got to ride the Lightning, but then they didn't issue them. So those it's a
useful tool to have on your belt. I mean,
so I would tell my guys on my shift that if they ever use the OC spray, because I'd been sprayed 7 times in the field just from being in the fight when it was deployed. Mm-hmm. I said, understand this. When the bad guy is in cuffs and everything's done, everybody's fine, and now it's time to write the report, we're going to have a talk. Because I'm telling you, here and now, do everything you can not to have to use that OC spray.
It sucks.
But I don't want to get sprayed an 8th time.
It sucks.
It does. Because for those of you who've never been sprayed with OC spray, it's oil-based. Mm-hmm. So once it dries, you think it's over with. It's not. As soon as you take a shower, it's reactivating.
Oh, yes.
And the pain starts all over again.
Yes, especially if you aren't leaning over to when you get in the shower.
Oh, no. So
it gets you good.
Yeah, the academy instructor told us to do this.
Yep.
Went all this way.
Yep.
Right? and the shower later that day was awful.
I had mentioned that we were the first agency to get the tasers, and there was a lot of times that people would tell me, "Oh no, shoot me before you hit me with a taser," or they'd be like, "Oh no, don't spray me with OC." Because I mean, how many times would you? Yeah, you get in the fight, you spray. Everybody's getting. Now you think about this though. Remember, you were on the road. I worked in the jail for a couple of years, and we had OC in the jail. You talk about the small confinement that you have when you would deploy OC in the jail. You're talking about fighting somebody in a holding cell, like in pre-admissions or admissions. There'd be times we come in the back and be like, "Oh, somebody got sprayed," because you could smell it soon as you walked in.
Yeah.
And then, now you got to fight this guy, and he's all sweaty or she's all sweaty, and dude, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. You're contaminated. And anything you touch after that, you go in the sergeant's office, write a report or whatever, you're in a patrol car, everything's contaminated.
Yep.
And it sucked. I hated OC. Great tool, but it sucked. How many times did you ever get hit with a taser?
Just, in taser class, when I got certified to carry it, of course I rode the regular way, but my lieutenant asked for a volunteer, and I was on the SWAT team, and nobody.
Were you the Ram?
No, I was I was the scribe.
Did they boost you up and send you through the windows?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. No one stepped up and volunteered. So I did. I raised my hand, and I ended up being the guinea pig for what happens when one of the two prongs doesn't hit the mark. And so I got the prong in the back shoulder, and then I got the press.
Ooh, same time.
On the opposite calf.
Ooh.
So every muscle group from my upper left shoulder to my lower right calf got electrified. Yeah.
Got you better. Not trying to up you. We did ours in SWAT school or SWAT team training. Everybody sat on the floor and interlocked. Indian style. Locked our arms.
One on one side?
One on one side, one prong on the outside of the right foot, the other one on the left. So that goes through your whole body. So those who don't understand how tasers work is they go from point to point. So it's traveling from this point through everything to this other point. So that sucked. I've been hit, get tied up in the lines, had a misfire, literally off of Bugs Bunny when the Roadrunner or whoever would fire the gun and it'd shoot out and go bang.
Yeah,
I've had the cartridge or the prongs go doop, and then shock in my hand, like literally like this, and had to have somebody hit my arm to knock it. Yes.
Knock it out?
Yep. Never. Taser's a good tool, but I've been hit too many times. Don't. I carried one as a bounty hunter. I don't think I ever used it. All I ever had to do was take the cartridge out. Yeah, or put the red dot on. Yeah, I think I could take the cartridge off and just strike, get it and trigger and just let them have it, spark, and that was enough. Oh no, I give up. And I mean, anybody who'd ever been hit, a perp or a jail detention, or not a deputy, inmate had ever been hit with a taser. Oh, they'd always, as soon as they hear it, they give up. They give up. They just nope, not doing it.
I would stand in line every day and twice on Tuesdays for a taser ride over getting sprayed with OC again.
I think I would too. I think I would too, because the OC, like you said, it's got that delayed reaction too for later on.
Awful. I hate OC spray. Good tool.
Who was it? Y'all didn't have the ones that was orange, that painted orange, did you?
Oh, you ended up orange. Yeah.
See, I don't think ours was like that. It was a different type that you had. We
if
didn't
you
have
were
that
close enough, you got orange, but it was the fog. So if you were far enough away and the plume got you, you didn't turn orange.
I think at one point when we were using, and I never saw this because I think I was already gone from the jail. Someone had gotten the administrator. Someone had a great idea. Let's get the foam. Really? So they used the foam because what the foam would do is spray out you like foam and it would cover you. well, what do you think an inmate's going to do? And it started happening.
Yeah.
And they were like, phone's not a good idea. Do you think? So I think I'd probably take the ride of the Lightning over the OC any day.
Yeah. So you had asked me 2 questions. What was one of the best calls where you and I were on together?
Yeah.
Going back to Luby's Boobies, we've already discussed it. Then there was a time where it was a weekend. It was either a Saturday or a Sunday, early in the shift. And I always work when we were out on the road together. I was evening watch, so 2:30 to 11:30, and we were out running laser over on Sugarloaf Parkway on the side entrance to the Sugarloaf Country Club. And
okay, I'm trying to refresh. I'm trying to remember this.
4 of us from the precinct, from Central, running, to include, I think Rich was out there for a minute or 2 anyway. And you sent me a message over the MDT, which is the computers inside the car, asking if you could come play.
Oh yeah, always.
I said absolutely. I'm running the laser. I'll tag them if you write them. And I think we were turning out citations about every 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Or an hour or so. And that was I was never a big traffic Nazi, but it was always fun, because you never know what you were going to be able to do taking the traffic stop past the traffic stop. So I always tried to write warning citations for the positive community policing interaction. But if you found something that needed further investigating, you could go further, and the traffic stop was the tool to do that.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, so those were the 2 memories that I had.
Those were fun times because, and some of the people that are, that are going to be watching didn't get it. It's like you said originally that we were 2 different agencies. Y'all handled all the 911 calls and all the investigations and things like that. The sheriff's department ran the jail, the courts, and served warrants and civil papers. So I was serving papers, or serving TPOs, restraining orders, and serving warrants on domestic violence. So when we get done, if there was nothing to do, I'd go out and jump calls with y'all, or go, let's play. What y'all doing? Write tickets. Oh yeah. And then eventually they got away from this. Oh, it's called duplication of services, because you can't have a traffic unit at the PD and you can't have a traffic unit at the SO. So if it wasn't my normal course of duty, we would do traffic. So I went to laser school and I loved it. I used to run laser on 85 right there at Old Peachtree, where that little curve is. Run laser there all the time, or run laser out 316 going towards Athens. And before then, we would do traffic, because you can't pull us over. You're a deputy. Sorry, dude. I got statewide jurisdiction. I can pull you over anywhere. But we'd pace. So we'd have 1 patrol car up front, and we'd have them turn off. Like on 316, we always did this. We had to pull off somewhere around Harbins or something like that. And then we'd pace them all the way to the county line and be like 6 cars back. And the person in the lead car would never know, because those who don't know, 316 runs from 85 outside of, in between Duluth and Lawrenceville, to Athens. And it used to, people would fly up and down that road. So we'd run pace cars out that way, or we would run laser, or we would do pullover, or we would do move over when the move over law came in. And we would sit, 1 unit would pull somebody over and be writing the ticket, and you'd have 2 or 3 cars back on a parking lot or something like that watching. And if they didn't move over a lane or slow down for officer safety, we'd pull them out, and man, we'd hit them all day long. We used to do a lot of that up in Beaufort off of Nelson Brogdon, right in front of the Ford dealership. We do move over, because that was a real big officer safety. And we started really having a lot of officers getting injured and dying during traffic stops. They get hit by the passerby or a tractor trailer or something. But those were, that's what I miss. And I'm sure you're the same way. That's what I miss the most about not being on the job anymore, is that I miss SWAT. I miss knocking in doors. I miss serving the warrants. I miss hearing the call. You go out on a traffic stop, or somebody else going out on a traffic stop, and backing them up and just seeing what you could get into. Like you said, we use traffic stops as a tool, PC, for further investigation.
Mhm.
You know, I always had a rule
to stop the car, so they had to have committed a
Mhm.
violation of some sort,
Mhm.
whether it was
Mhm.
equipment violation or
Mhm.
moving violation. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was the tool, you
Mhm.
know, because who was it? Was it Jeffrey Dahmer that was found in a traffic stop?
Yes. Dahmer or Bundy. I don't remember.
Maybe it was Bundy.
But you
Anyway,
remember going off of this too is officer and citizen interaction. Look at Eric Rudolph. Eric Rudolph was hiding in Murphy, North Carolina for years, was hiding all through the woods, FBI, ATF. No one could find him. And how did they find him? A deputy, a rookie deputy found him dumpster diving.
mm-hmm.
He got complacent. He had to come out and get some food. I mean, and it's little things like that would lead to big arrest.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's what I liked about working patrol. That's what I miss. I miss that. I miss that. It was a different because I didn't have to. It wasn't my normal. I had an overview. I got a real wide variety of things. I got to serve warrants, got to serve TPOs, got to do the SWAT things, like everything that I'd already said. And I love doing traffic. I mean, that was the biggest thing. And I always had this rule when I was doing traffic was, you know, I gave you 10. If it's a 55, I'll give you the 60. I didn't hit you. I didn't pull you over till 61 or 11 over. 11 to 19 over, I did as my decision. 21 or, you know, over 21, you're toting the ticket. If you're doing 25 more over the speed limit, you're toting to jail. You're going to jail for less safe for, you know, what is it? Speeder. What's the law?
Super speeder.
Super speeder. Yeah.
Here in Georgia, super speeder.
Yeah. Super speeder. But, you know, a lot of times I give you 10. I'll give you 10 to, and then we'll just use officer discretion. But there's a lot of times I found wanted people dope. I mean, you know, I mean, we're anybody out there is watching, you know, that watches the show and is in law enforcement, they know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was some fun stuff. And then also, y'all didn't chase.
No.
We did.
Right.
A lot of times.
If we could get the SO,
yes, sir,
or Lawrenceville PD.
Yes, sir, because we didn't have GSP, you know, God's special people.
That's right.
Bing. Yes. When I heard you say that last week, I was like, oh, yeah. GSP was not in our county at the time because they had a dispute with the PD.
Yeah.
So you would never, you never would get the GSP in the county. You rarely ever got them in here. So the only agencies that chased in the county were the SO and Lawrenceville. So you had to run them towards, Lawrenceville or hope an SO unit. Oh, lots of chases that I got into with you guys.
Yeah.
And that's probably a lot of the times that we had some good stuff down in District 5 with some chases.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember certain sergeants coming over the radio, any SO units on 10-8. Yeah. Right. Where you at? Come on. Yeah. I ran one. Matter of fact, I ran one across Buford Dam for y'all. Y'all called off. And as soon as y'all called off, and I was actually a third car in, y'all called off and I picked up the vehicle on the radio. And next thing, the two cars that were in front of me were like, we're clear. We're code 7 with him. We're backing him up.
That's right. Back in it.
Yeah. I mean, hell, another
purposes.
Oh, yes. Very much so. Oh, another Rich long story. It was a Saturday, I think. Rich said, where you at? I'm over at, here was another fun fact that y'all didn't do, that we utilize our tools. That was what we was called. Remember, we utilized the tools that we had.
That's right.
911 call comes in on an 83, which people don't know is a wanted person, over off of Cannonball Court.
Why is it?
29 is Sugarloaf, Cannonball Court.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Right outside. And actually, I think that's outside District 5. It's in District 2. But for somewhere, and I think Rich was there, and he might have been. But I remember they were misdemeanor warrants. Y'all didn't force entry on misdemeanor warrants. Guy was working on his truck and got mad at his girlfriend or wife, went in the house, closed the door. She called 911, wanted person. Y'all get over there knocking on the door. We can't, he's not here or he's not answering the door. So it called me because we'll kick the door on anything. Called me and I was like, on scene, and then y'all cleared, went 10-8, and then I went signal 17, which means warrant service. Right. Can you advise if any PD units are in the area? And all of a sudden, everybody that was just on the scene came back. I mean, was basically standing right there when it was going on. Like, okay, who's taking the back? Radio 10-3, we're forcing entry. Boom, went in. That's how we manipulated some of the policies that were in place that to get the job done. Yeah. Well, you can't kick the door in. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm the SO. Yes, I can.
That's right.
Yeah. We would kick in on misdemeanor recorder's court bench warrants. We had no problem kicking indoors. And that was where that's where I had a lot of fun with you guys was I'd be the only guy out there serving a warrant on Sunday and call and say, hey, I got a stack of warrants. Y'all want to go? And we go kick doors in because y'all couldn't kick doors in. No. And normally when it got to be a felony, usually it was detectives that handle it once y'all did the investigation. So y'all didn't get to kick it, or SWAT had to kick it for y'all. Or CRT, I guess.
Yeah, well, CRT was underutilized for a lot of.
Oh God, yeah.
Community response team. I think that's what CRT stood for. When I got into detectives and was a burglary detective, we did all of our own doors. We knocked them in on our own. That was a lot of fun.
Which, you know, you could do a whole nother episode. And if you want to, I'd be glad to come and join you. And maybe it may be something also your buddy over in California on how they're handling with no knocks, because there's a lot of controversy. There has been controversy about no knock clauses on search warrants, especially if it's a drug related warrant, because it's a risk of damaging evidence. Okay. But it's drugs, or it's dope, right, or it's money. Exigent circumstances, if you got a hostage situation, man, a no knock, you know, I mean, there's certain times that I agree with a no, and this doesn't go back to going into private sector. This goes into what I also in my master's degree, you know, learned and taught, or learned and researched on is, you know, no knocks are, they're good on the warrant, but they also, when you start thinking of liability from the officer or deputy or law enforcement, it gets very controversial. There's a line. I mean, of course, when we were on SWAT, you were there. You love no knocks because the door's coming in. Whether or not it's coming with a ram, or you're using a water charge and you're flashbanging. Hell, there's the whole nother thing there. Flashbangs. For the longest time, you bust the door, throw a flashbang on the inside. Well, once you had episodes of houses burning down, and one of them being in Georgia, where a kid died in a crib in North Georgia, we went away from using flashbangs in the house because we used to always bang the hell out of the house. I mean, couldn't tell you how many times I would be on the door. I was the breacher, and third guy up would come to bang once I hit the door and busted the door, but then the bang would hit the door coming back and drop him in front of my feet, and I got banged. No pun intended. But I mean, no knocks and you know, it could be a whole show. I mean,
it could be. Yeah. You know, there's lots of things. You know, the premise behind this show originally was the comic relief, the funny things to allow us as either former or current law enforcement, first responders, because this is open to FD and EMS.
You don't let hose draggers on here.
Well, my brother-in-law is a foundation saver, so you know, but they have their own stories. That's funny, you know. So we all need to laugh. We all need to remember that it's important to laugh. And the funny stuff that happens on the shift or while you're deployed, if you're still active or separated, retired military, those were the things that help you put the uniform back on the next day to go and do it again, because there was the potential possibility of either one being the hero that saves the day. Saves a child, saves you know, a victim, solves a big crime, but there was also the funny stuff that happens nowhere else, and they're all one-off stories. So that was the premise behind the show. But what I'm realizing just 2 episodes in is that there are entirely other conversations that could be had.
Oh, there is.
This is a good forum for that. I'm going to give a plug to another podcast here, Two Cops, One Donut. It's based out of Texas, and that show is to educate the general public about all the different things in law enforcement. So he brings in street officers, he brings in training guys, he brings in SWAT guys. He had a physical fitness guru. She was like a fitness and nutritionist that also is still at the PD. He brings in defense attorneys, psychiatrists, and to be able to, for the general public to learn more about law enforcement and what law enforcement officers have to deal with, what their jobs are, what their roles are. It's just an education. So that's a plug. Two Cops, One Donut. It's a great show. It was one of the inspirations behind this show here. But so yeah, I've learned there's lots of conversations that we could have, and we could spend hours, as you said. Pick any one of the conversations we've talked about.
Oh yeah, I mean,
one of the topics.
Oh yeah, and you go on, like you said, you know, to break the ice. You know, when we started out, we started BSing about SEC football and this, that, and Bama and Georgia, and to break the ice, and then other stories about our favorite TV shows, our favorite celebrities we've met, and things like that. I mean, this isn't what you're trying to do. Is not give it a little bit personal, because you want to get your audience to get a feel for who this guy is and who the host is. But yeah, I mean, I could sit here with you, or we could get together and collaborate things and come up with all kinds of different use of force here, or different types of less than lethal weapons, or you can tell war stories all day long. And I joke, because the joke being is everybody's got stories. And I said, "Oh, you're gonna bring hose draggers on?" At the end of the day, our job was first responders, was officer safety, or I'm saying safety of the community. That is our job. No one wants to go out there and not a single cop that I know of, and of too, that puts on that uniform every day and hopes to pull the trigger.
No. Worst day.
Exactly. And I hope that you have, and I know you're going to catch who I'm talking about when I say this. I hope that there's that one particular person that you and I are both very good friends with. I know I'm still very good friends with this person, that you're able to get that person on the show, and they'll tell us your story or her story. I gave it away. You know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
I am still very good friends with this person. And not only the fact of the day that she had her situation happen, post that, everything that she went through, still goes through.
Right.
Still going through it.
Yeah.
And the nightmare, and I don't know everything that she goes through mentally, but I do know what all happened to her physically with everything that happened
to her career.
Exactly. I was looking for the right words to say. Yeah. In her career, this person, there's probably in your department alone that you work for, I can think of right now off the top of my head of 6 females out of a male dominating agency that are probably the best cops. And I'm not including the SO. I'm putting just the agency that you were with. 6 that, take it back, 7 that I know that I worked with when you were there, that would have anybody, no matter what uniform they had on, would have their back. Not only that, when it came to the shit hitting the fan, but damn good investigators and detectives in what they did. Close that one for me, because I know they just got home. Sorry, my youngers just got in. The damn good officers. Right. And I know you. And if we were to spill those names, you would probably check off, and you probably would add some more to it that were damn good female officers in a male dominating field. And I'm not going. I'm not trying to go with the gender, who this, that, and the other in a male dominating field. But you and I both know, and everybody else knows that works in this community or in this field, that it's a male dominating field, but there's some damn good officers that are females out there, and detectives and agents, field agents for, federal agencies, the GBI and the SO. I mean, some of my best supervisors that I had, not knocking any of my male supervisors, but female supervisors were some of the best ones that I had.
Oh yeah. I agree. And my FTO was a female officer. I learned a lot more. I actually had 4, because when we go through field training at the department I was at, you went to 2 different precincts and you worked 2 different shifts at each precinct. You got at least 4 different FTOs, and the one I learned the most from was my female FTO. She was I learned she taught me things that no male officer would have known to teach.
I think that comes
Outside
down to the fact that they had more to prove. I feel like
Probably.
a lot of them had more to prove because they're the female and in a male dominating field, like we said, and the man's a strong, society sees a male cop as a big, strong guy and he's here to save the day, da, 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 here's my cape. And females had more to prove. Going back to state, what you were saying is having an outlet for, us as, former or current first responders or veterans of military, it gives you an avenue to talk about it. And I'll say this, I don't care what anybody says in this field, in fire or EMS or military. If you don't suffer from some type of PTSD from the shit you've seen, you're lying to yourself.
Right.
You're lying to yourself.
That brings up a nice segue. A future guest that I just booked is a female officer. She was also in the Navy, worked side by side with the SEALs, and has just released a book about her struggles with PTSD in her military career as well as her 20-year law enforcement career. And so, yeah, this show is about the funny stuff that we saw and laughed at. I don't know if you were working that night. You may not have been, but there was a case where again, Rich Long, another plug, local hero.
We're going to pay him some dividends here. You're going to have to pay him some dividends, man. Damn, he needs to get some stock on this.
So we had a welfare check of a young lady that hadn't called home, and who knows how, I can't remember how long she lived in an apartment. And Rich and I went to go check on the welfare check, and this person's vehicle was in the apartment complex parking lot right outside the door, and we could hear a TV on inside. And we knocked on the door, and there was no response. Doors were locked, of course. We knocked again, and then we could hear a moan. So somebody's inside and somebody's moaning. So now we called for FD to come to roll to potentially help breach the door, because they have a lot of cool tools.
Oh yeah.
And neither one of us had a ram in our trunk. So in the meantime, Rich and I took turns kicking the door, trying to get it open. Well, the deadbolt wasn't right above the handle. It was up top.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. So
okay.
Kicking at the door handle does no good, right? So this guy, I tried Jackie Channing the door.
Oh my God.
Jump spin kick. Yeah, I did. And what ended up happening was I pushed myself off the door
and back into Rich's arms
and against the banister and landing on my ankle, and it went.
That's when you broke your ankle.
Yeah. Yeah. That night. It's funny stories like this. Like, I shouldn't have done that, right? But
that was a stupid move.
It was a very stupid move, right? But I was still a young guy,
eager,
and
piss and vinegar on fire. Yep.
My sergeant was on scene. We had somebody inside that was in distress. I had to get us in there. So I think I'd watched. I can't remember what it was, a Jackie Chan movie like recently. So I was like, yes.
Earlier we were talking about Hollywood.
Yeah. So, that's the premise behind this show, but we can do serious stuff too. We can talk about PTSD. I can give an outlet to somebody that one needs to get it out, needs to talk about it. Two, afford somebody on the other end of this camera to hear somebody else struggling with the same thing, know that they're not alone, give them the resources, but also tell the story for those of us that aren't suffering from that, to understand people are suffering from it and make us better partners, uh, spouses, family members to understand that there are invisible wounds that don't heal.
We could sit here and good God, I could tell you, we could sit here for hours on end and give war stories on, the most horrific calls that we went on, things that we'd seen. I mean, anybody who's worked in this field, and even in military too, they've got the stories. You see this, you see the bad in everything. But then you also have those good moments.
And those are the ones that I wanted to celebrate. Yeah, so the tagline "Comic Relief from the Street" sort of branched off from original tagline that was celebrating the win. Because at the end of the shift, you go home. That's a win. No matter what happened during the shift, you got to go home. That's a win. But it could have been taken out of context or not really understanding, not really providing a good overview of what the show's about. So that's how it ended up morphing into Comic Relief from the Street. Excuse me, because there are more bad stories.
Oh yeah,
way
definitely
more bad stories than there are the good stories. And if there are civilians, non-law enforcement, non-first responder, non-military that do end up watching this show, I wanted to be able to rehumanize the badge, the people that wear the badge, whatever the badge is, whether it's a fire badge, EMS badge, whether it's a shoulder patch from the military, make those people human again for those that only think of these career fields as bad guys. We're not. We laugh. We have a good time. We and not always at other people's expense. Most time at our own expense.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like my Jackie Chan kick. I mean, that put me out of work for weeks. And it was dumb. But it's a funny story. And if I had
exactly.
I could tell the story even better.
Yeah, well, just like
bourbon, I have Raz energy.
Well, that's just like with my handcuffs. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, just doing my
thing.
You got away. And so I charged him with freaking theft by taking. So I mean, I agree. There definitely is. You got to have an outlet. And we're getting at that point, and I know you'll agree with this because you hear every day, guys that we've started with are retiring.
Oh yeah.
All the stories. I mean, a lot of those guys are guys and girls. They're ranked now. There ain't many people that we know of that stay down in the line. I've got a few over at the SO because it's a little bit different rank structure than what y'all had over there or have over there. So, well, there's some that I'm like, how the heck? Both departments. How the heck did you become a super? How did you become a major? Yeah, it's like, whoa. Okay, and everybody knows that. Everybody who watches the show and anybody that watches the show or comes on the show that has the exact same story, everybody has the same story. Everybody's got their other Pat and they got their other Matt.
That's
that might be a show.
I was just about to say we could have a spinoff, the Matt and Pat
Matt and Pat show. But you got to have an event, and that goes to one of the things that I kind of briefly mentioned. I don't want to give too much details about it because it's still in the works, but me and my wife are working on something with the PTSD because I openly admitted that I suffered for it. I mean, this could be a whole nother show if you wanted to go there, and I'd be more than honored to come back and join you. But some of the shit that I saw during Katrina, dude.
We could do a whole story about the wild, wild Southeast.
Oh, yes.
Because I know Butch, the sheriff, was very supportive of the help that was needed down in New Orleans and sent that help.
Yes, he went with us.
Yeah,
he went with us.
Our bosses at the PD said nobody can take leave to prevent us from going and helping. we couldn't even take leave.
Mhm.
If it wasn't already approved
Mhm.
and you couldn't prove that you weren't going down there to help, you weren't getting that time off.
Yeah. We went a couple of 16 years ago. Matter of fact, because Ida hit on the exact same date that Katrina had hit. I think it was Ida had hit. One of the hurricanes just hit was 16. It was 16 years later. And it was, wow. I mean, this is literally a whole nother story. I mean, it was.
Well, we probably shouldn't open this Pandora's box because
No.
we'll be here, and I know you've got cases stacking up. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking 2 hours now
Yeah.
out of your day to be
I
on
could
this.
literally sit here all day with you, man. Brother, I could literally, it's not Taco. Today's Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's not Taco Tuesday. So, but no, you know, it's, I'm glad you're doing this. I support you, man. It's something really good that you're doing. I've always had your back. You've always had my back, or should reverse it either way. But we have fun times. I think using this avenue to be able to talk about things like that is good. It's good for people to see it and make it more humanized for those who don't understand what it is to go through this in the first responders, the best way of saying it, field and military. I mean, military, man, it's like I said before, you being a vet, I thank them all the time. I always taught my oldest boy when he was young, whenever you see a person wearing a veteran hat or see a military person, you know, someone in uniform, go up, shake their hands, tell them thank you. And I am my other boys, I'm teaching them the same thing too, because I mean, it's a respect thing. Law enforcement too. I mean, we got bad apples, but there's bad apples in every industry.
Sure.
And this could probably bring something back that, like, hey, you know, they're not all bad out there. There is a lot of good.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
It has been a lot of fun. Now I know there's something you wanted to plug. So before,
I'll plug it real quick. So like I talked about, I'm in the private sector. I do PI work. I work for Lancaster Information Services. Been around for over 30 years. Our main task is we provide information. Whether or not whatever that information be, we do background checks. We do polygraphs. Gary's one of the best polygraph examiners in the state, and I do criminal defense and I do asset recovery investigations. So get locked up. Hopefully you don't. Get your attorney to get in touch with me, and I'll do some investigating on your discovery. Like you said, I got to get back to it. I got I think 15 homicides I'm working right now that are post indictment and getting ready for trial, and we're getting ready to ramp things up here in Gwinnett County with a new DA's office and investigators and COVID, whatever we're doing. I know we got trials coming up. We got trials going on, but some of my trials were off for a year and a half. So I'm getting ramped back up for some homicide trials. And and I know you were fixing to say something, but any of the guys that work these cases know that I'm not trying to screw you. I'm making sure under what the Constitution says that this defendant is entitled to their own independent investigation. That being said, not mentioning names, but you and I have both had friends that have found themselves as a defendant, and they were post cops. And I've had their attorneys contact me and said, this person told me I need to talk to you. That he wants you to look at his case. One of those individuals, which we are very good friends with, I didn't get the opportunity to fully dig into his case, but what I did see helped him lead to the decision that he made that helped him in his case. I didn't get to look at everything, but what I did see, I referred to that attorney and said, hey, you might want to talk about this. And that person made the best decision that they could make on their case and took a plea, and it worked out best for them. But I've had law enforcement officers. I need this guy, and that's what I'm here. I'm not being egotistical, but I'm good at what I do because I'm very thorough in what I do.
So I just want to. What's the website?
We are actually rebuilding, but Lancaster.com.
Lancaster.
It's Lancaster Information Services is the name.
Okay.
And there's going to be I'm trying to work on the website, but there's going to be some changes coming forth in the future.
Okay.
Some good changes.
All
Some
right.
stuff I'm very excited about. Hopefully, I'll be able to come back in and help you with this.
Yeah. So I'd love to have you back on.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to book a second episode with you. We've got some other good storytellers coming on. In mid-October, I booked a group of veterans. This one Navy or Marine Corps veteran is putting together a book for combat service members. It's a compilation of short stories, poems, letters, things that these veterans wrote, as well as artistic stuff. So drawings, paintings, photographs of sculptures as a coffee table book.
Nice.
Yeah, and all the proceeds for that go to a veteran suicide prevention nonprofit. So yeah, we've got some big shows coming up, and I'm really excited about also having local friends, guys and women, guys and gals that I grew up with, if you will, in the law enforcement career to be a part of this as well. So thanks again, Matt, for taking time out of your day, joining in on this. It was a fun time, good stories.
Yeah.
I've got one edit to take out from the Swiss cheese story. And yeah.
Oh well.
It's all right. So those that are
I got
the way
what you're
to the end, 2 hours.
Yeah, and you know what we didn't get to talk about is we didn't, because I'm not a liquor person, so I guess I couldn't fairly give you your shot to talk about your liquors or your bourbon. We didn't get to talk about barbecue.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. So I guess we'll just open this back up for a couple more minutes.
No, we don't have to. No. Let's save it for another one because no, let's save it.
Okay.
Because
we're gonna put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it because I'll have some barbecue in the next couple weeks. I'll make some and bring it to you. We'll hook up and I'll give it to you. Then we can come back afterwards and let you taste. Once you taste it, then you'll be like, okay, we need to really talk.
I'll get your butt in the studio.
Okay.
And we'll have adult beverages and barbecue while doing the show and make everybody else salivate over.
Oh yeah. So I need to go ahead and plan a pretty good menu. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And in fact, I'll book the conference room here instead of just the studio room, and we'll have a big spread, 8-foot table. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, you're gonna make me have to come up with a menu.
As long as there's mac and cheese, I'm all right.
As long as there's mac and cheese?
Yeah.
Ooh. All right.
All right.
I guess I'm gonna be making dinner. I guess I'll be making us a dinner or something, or lunch or something.
Sounds like challenge has been accepted.
Yes, you get the easy end of it. You got the liquor in. I got yours is easy. Yours comes in a bottle. I got to prep everything.
Well, and I get to eat it.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging in with us now for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Episode 2 of the Knock and Talk show. Matthew Warren was here with us. It was a great time learning about small differences between SO and PD, and that's something we could definitely dive deeper into.
Oh yeah,
in a future episode. And I'm excited to say that here, you heard it, he is offering to come back, so we're going to hold him to it. And I assume there'll be more stories from Luby's Boobies in the following episodes. So Matt, take care.
Thank you, brother. Love you, brother.
Yeah, love you too, man. You be safe.
You too.
We'll see you again.
All right, man.